and I'll gladly send you not only the recording, but if you want the slides, you can have those as well. So we are big on setting our minds about what we're going to cover, so you have some sense of what we'll talk about. But there's no reason that this has to be all that we talk about. At any time, if you have a question that really is for you, something that's, a driving force, something that would really influence you, let us know. But what I do want you to know is that you're talking to two people who have graduated as adults. Neither one of us was one of those people who went straight through and went from high school, graduated with our degrees. We both had kids in tow. So when we talk to you about how realistic this program is, we both have that knowledge that we've been there. So, and we also know what it's like to go back to school after a long time. So we're talking about grad school in part because there comes a time in leaders' lives that they feel the distinct feeling that they could know more, they could be more, they could do more. So they'll start to talk about grad school. Now, I'm going to point out, if you look at this picture on this slide, those are all my students. Those are all graduates. We do not put clip art in. I don't believe in it, because look at the intention of the people that are sitting around that table. And that was in the middle of a group project. So it's incredibly important for you to know that this is a realistic look at leadership. So we know that you're invested in your future, no matter where you are in your career. It's not wrong. In fact, it's fabulous to want more, to recognize that your potential has not all been tapped. It's such an exciting time. So we do know that people with a higher degree tend to make more money. They also, and you've probably seen this, they tend to have less periods of time with layoffs. And as we look at what's going on in the world, having an additional degree can put you in a position. All right, we have somebody else joining us. Deborah. I'm just going to hesitate for a couple minutes, Ed and Kate, just so I can see. Deborah, are you there? Important time when you start thinking about going to grad school. It can influence the direction of your career significantly. It can influence how much you're paid, or even positions that you can feel confident in applying to. You feel prepared. And that's one of the things we really pride ourselves on, is the ability to help people feel prepared to move forward. This was a quote that I got from the Harvard Business Review discussion about people going back to grad school. And so this was the response to that. What about grad school? And these are the things that people worry about when they talk about going back to grad school. Writing, and am I smart enough? Those are two things that you typically hear people say. What Thomas says here, but students who do finish a master's degree often find themselves admitting their very fears are the beginning of a strong and amazing confidence in yourself and your future. The confidence is going to fuel your life and your family's life experiences. You can't underestimate the value of truly finding your own way. Many people who come into grad school come in and they have had entry-level positions and maybe even have gotten a promotion, maybe even a couple. And maybe they've decided that they just don't know what the next step is. One of the best things about coming into our MSOL program is we spend a lot of time working with you to help you find what really makes a difference. There is a quote that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And there's a number of people who have said that, but it is so true. When you love what you do, it makes getting up easier. It makes leaving your family. You'll spend more time with the people you work with, probably. So, what can the MSOL do for you? Um, well, quite honestly, you probably know leadership. You know what it looks like. You can almost it's almost palpable what leadership is. But for us, many people will say, well, I'm not sure I'm a leader. And I have had students who have come in and said, Sandy, if I come into the program in 20 months, can you make me a leader? And my response to people who ask me that is always, you're already a leader. You might not be looking at yourself through the lens of self-leadership, which is incredibly important. This is what you develop after you begin to determine not just who you are, what you offer this world, but also what you really want to do. This is where we start to help you to gauge your personal and professional growth. This is an opportunity to rediscover all the things that are best in you. It's funny how a lot of that gets mired down in day-to-day duties. But when you're in this program, there's an ongoing effort to do that. Now, Deborah, I don't know that I said this since you came on the phone, but Bo Daly, who's the assistant director of admissions, is here. She's on the phone. Bo is a graduate of the MSOL program. Bo, can you talk a little bit about when we're talking about self-leadership and your journey?
Definitely. Thank you, Deborah. Welcome. Before we started the PowerPoint, I had a few moments to be able to speak with Kate and Ed, and I've been with Goodwin for 11 years, and I, was at the time I had, my son was only a few months old. And I was always like, okay, this is good for me for right now. And then I'll think about, school and everything else later until, when you're ready, right? When you're ready. And I think, you fast forward that, I was able to get promoted from, just an admissions officer to an admissions manager, and then certainly assistant director. And I had shared that, of course, for all of us, in terms of like leadership and gaining those skills professionally, you're going to be able to, you've met with people, you've had your own members of leadership and those that you've worked with, and you're pulling bits and pieces of all those things that you've seen, that you've admired. And I think that that's what it all comes to. And you've been able to take workshops and things like that. But ultimately, it got to that point. I remember talking to Sandy, and of course I sounded like one of the a student myself, where I was just kind of like, I'm like, Sandy, until you offer it completely online. And then what Sandy says, she's like, yes, next semester actually I will offer it online. So then of course I'm just like, well, Bo, put your money where your mouth is. And so when I get that challenge, and she took literally every excuse out of the way, I was like, all right, I don't really have anything else to say. And I know she felt that I definitely wanted to do it. And, she literally took all the obstacles away. And at that point, I had worked with Sandy and of course enrolling for our new program. And I was scared just as much, because for myself, it had been such a long time since I had graduated from my undergrad. I graduated in 2003. And so I was like, and somebody had brought up to me, they're like, oh, what type of, are you guys doing, APA or MLA? And I'm like, what's that again? So it had been so long. And finally, I was like, I don't even know if I can create a paragraph right now, except for like emails or just writing stuff back to people. Right. So you get to that point where you're just like, you start to panic. You're like, oh, okay, we have to really change our mindset a little bit. But those feelings and that fear
Mm-hmm.
is real. But I think once you really make that decision to say, what, there's a reason why I wanted to get started in the first place, because it came to a certain point in my career, whether it was professionally and personally, because I was feeling like I wasn't growing in the way that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to absorb so much more information. I wanted to be at the level where everybody else is. You start looking at other people, and whenever you're in like certain types of meetings and you're just like, wow, I feel almost out of this conversation because I have no knowledge of whatever they're talking about. You learn so much of all these things and you didn't realize that, you know, the topics that we're discussing, this is big. This is definitely out
Mm-hmm.
there. And you feel that once you start going through this and understanding it, you're just like, wow, I am definitely, not only do I know I have the skills to be part of this, but because I don't have that knowledge, I feel like I can't add to it. So there's that fear
Exactly.
where you kind of hold back even your own professional career because you're just kind of like, I don't know if I'm bringing anything because a lot of the knowledge that I have is just learned knowledge of my day to day, the things that I'm just picking up. And being able to really hone in when a program is kind of designed and designated for you to really look at the big picture, the world of where we're at professionally, that added so much. And when you have this knowledge, you also branch out with this network of people where you're just like, wow, I really feel that if I need to have a conversation about what authentic leadership is, or what data driven decision is, or organizational change and how you manage that. And, that's when you feel like, wow, all these ideas that I have had, but I was reserved because I was like, I don't know if I can add anything to it because I don't have anything to be able to back it up. And
Mm-hmm.
so with that, with all that knowledge, all the things that I've learned, it gives you that confidence to be able to say, guys, like these are things that other corporations, big corporations like Amazon and Google for that matter, like these are big corporations that talk about this, even with Zappos and just the style and culture. It gives you so much ideas to be able to not only talk to people in a higher level of leadership, but people who you supervise. And you can't
Mm-hmm.
help but be amazed of the change of how much more confidence you've always had it. And that's the thing that I think when you get to that point where you're like, I want a master's program in leadership, and then you get to that point where you're just kind of like, geez, like I will definitely say it has added so much for myself personally and professionally. And that fear that you have in starting something, it literally goes away. And you feel so good to be able to see that your own leadership style right now, the things that you're doing, it's there's a name for it. I had mentioned to Kate and Ed, I was like, there's a name for this, that whatever I'm doing with my group of
Mm-hmm.
people right now. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's the type of leadership that I want. And there's actually a name to it. And it kind of helps you also give you that assurance that, hey, I am doing something right because
Mm-hmm.
look at all these examples that I see. And so, that really, all the doubt, once you start to really see that all the things that you're doing right now is solidified, but it's also refined and amplified now. Now you're able to just be like, you know what, I'm going to take it up a notch to be able to really help my organization and even being able to talk to other people. So that's the huge change that I have seen what this program has done for me.
Thank you so much, Bo. So one of the things you heard Bo really talk about is this is doable. So I want to really accentuate the fact that this is a part-time program. We designed this program specifically for people who work full-time. Probably about 95% of our students work full-time. And it's important, people say, oh, I've been out of school a long time. You should know the average age in our program is right around 38 years of age. I have had people that were well into their 60s. The youngest person I had was 24, but the oldest was 65. So it mirrors what you're seeing in the world around you. We offer, like Bo mentioned, she had wanted online, and we do have online. We also have hybrid, and a hybrid means we have 3-hour class once a week. This cohort coming in January, it would be Wednesday nights. That would be the night that we would have class. But I want to explain, as we all know, the world is just in a strange predicament. As we always hear, it's unprecedented. Well, so we have done our best to sustain our hybrid students, either by having a class socially distant in a room that allows for the space with masks, with temperature taken when you walk in the building, with all the necessary precautions to keep you safe and continue to keep all the people that work for Goodwin Safe. We do limit the number of people in the overall building to about 50% of capacity, which is better than what current requirements are for the state. But some people who want hybrid right now are saying, well, you know, I do want hybrid, but I'm not sure I want to come on a campus. What we do is we use Zoom, we use Teams, we use anything and everything at our disposal to make it possible for you to have the best experience. We anticipate about 12 hours a week, whether you do online or hybrid. It just gets broken down a little differently. So what you should know is, what does this all mean? Like, how do you go to school? First of all, I want to point out, there are no sticker shock here. You don't have to buy books. You're not going to spend money on other things. We use all online resources. We have ebooks through our library and countless articles. We do everything in our power to ensure you have access to the best resources possible. So if you're working online, you're going to do approximately 12 hours a week. If you're hybrid, you've got approximately a 3-hour class. And again, with hybrid, coming onto campus will depend on where we are with the pandemic, and that it is in the best interest of people to bring you on campus. So online, you are going to do your readings, and that will come up each week. Shows you, we even tell you how many pages in each one of your readings, so you can approximate the best way to manage your time and meet your obligations. We urge people not to do everything in a day. In fact, to get used to breaking it up into digestible components. Mm-hmm. So much in reading, you know, like you might read for an hour or two, and then, you know, maybe you just do 45 minutes. Maybe, you know, you're waiting for a meeting to start. You can read 3 pages. People find the rhythm that works best for them. We use a lot of videos, and I will tell you, TED Talks are an incredibly important part of our work here, in part because we believe that everyone has different ways that they react to content. So we give you videos. Maybe you're, you know, more of a visual learner. Maybe you're an oral learner. You might actually even want to do some of your assignments. You might want to videotape them. And we do a lot of videotaping, particularly in the online. We use a discussion board. That is where you get a chance to really work and get to know the people who are in your cohort, and then written assignments. And we also offer something, I call it the golden ticket, kind of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where you have a golden ticket. You can turn it in once a course to replace any of the weekly assignments. Our goal is that every assignment brings you closer to who you are as a leader. We believe in having everything in this program be intentional. We are intentional, authentic, and we work on helping you to find where you are now. None of us start in the same place, but your potential is what you can achieve, and we really want to help you. So contained in each course is a true discussion of how that course influences leadership. So any questions so far?
No, I think you're answering a lot of them through, you know, going through all of this, for me at least. So thank you.
Excellent, Kate. Ed and Deborah, if you have any, let me know. I do want you to know I am thrilled to tell you that I became certified as an Enneagram trainer. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but Enneagram is it's a personality tool. It's thousands of years old, but it's not just, oh, take this, like, you know, the Myers-Briggs or some of the other tools, and you take it and then you're not really sure what to do with it. With the Enneagram, we will be integrating it into every one of the courses with the intention that you continue to explore your potential, how you react to things. And then we have other surveys we bring in. We look at emotional intelligence up close. What do you really do well? We also talk about other topics in other courses. We do a leadership compass. We do personality evaluation. The whole idea is for you to know you. One of the other highlights of this program is you're going to do a TED Talk. If you don't know what a TED Talk is, TED stands for Technology, Entertainment, and Design. And what we do is we bring it to the forefront. We believe that in communication, it's vital that a leader is capable of explaining an idea, but also inspiring people to get on board with it. So we talk about that. We also do a change management plan, which I know Bo remembers quite fondly. And what we do is we take and say, all right, we turn the tables. What would you change in this program? We are never finished. See, the best thing about leadership is when you don't have to be right. And we don't. We explore the area of gray. We give you standards and parameters to look at leadership, but we don't tell you what you should be as a leader. That is for you to discover. I do want to also share, I operate as your program director. I'm also an instructor. I teach the first course because change is important, but so is culture. So I establish the culture for the program. I teach the last course, and typically I teach something in between. I've included a couple of quotes from students, and I love this one. As a student in the MSOL program, I've gained confidence not only in what I can do, but how I can do it. I know and trust myself. It is incredibly important to remember we do not compete against anyone else. We compete against our best self. That's where development occurs. And that's what we focus on. So why graduate students, why you should consider us? This is a young woman who, when she was a teenager, designed a nonprofit organization that still functions to this day. And this is what she shared. Since being at Goodwin University, I've recognized a leader that others have seen, but I did not see. I've grown more in the past 14 months than I have in the past 20 years. I'm so proud that she said that. Not just proud because the program has instilled this, but also inspired her to make this change, but that she realizes who she is. Remember, one of the critical questions we ask as humans is, who am I? And oftentimes we're really not sure where our potential is. It's funny how, 100 people can tell you you're fabulous at something, but it's really hard for us to believe it. And we are willing to accept where we might have problems. Our MSOL program isn't focused on your challenges. We work on your strengths. And then by working on your strengths, you are able to and empowered to look at how you can truly improve in the other areas of your life. Now, I've heard a lot. I can't even tell you the number of people who've said to me, it's way too late to go back to school for me. It's never too late to go back to school. I talked to an 80-year-old man about a year ago, and he was thinking about coming back to school. I think his plans might have been intervened as far as COVID, but it's never too late to be the person you really want to be, to find what you can do. This gives you a chance to expand your skill set. And you know what we often think about? I don't know something. I have to know more. But in part, going back to school helps you to realize your essential skills, your soft skills, how you communicate, how you engage, how you inspire, the places you're writing. And people are always concerned about writing. We have a very intriguing approach with writing. We start and we use peers. We develop relationships within your cohort so that you and other members of your cohort review each other's work. I think if I asked you, Bo, did your writing change when you were in this program?
Oh, it definitely did. I think once I made it past the first course, really, I was more comfortable. There was a lot of help and feedback. And so afterwards, when you really get down on it, you're just like, oh, wow. I mean, and then of course, with just your perspective. And I think because I'm older and I thought about it to myself at one point, I'm like, geez, I wish I was the person that I am right now, back when I was in my undergrad. Because you're just like, look at me go, like writing all these. And I think like all of a sudden, like it, I think it just clicked. Like all of a sudden, I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's so easy now for me to just be able to like start my idea, focus on what I want to write, and just get to the point. And that's, I think, as taking it later on in life with going back to school, and especially in the position that you're already in and being a parent, you're just kind of like, okay, with your children, you're just kind of like, that there's different ways that you have to speak to different children, right?
Yeah.
So same thing when you're going to write that paper and you have this topic, you're just like, well, I already know what I want to say. So now I'm just going to get to the point. You do get to that point where you're so directive and you're so focused because you're just like, all right, I have this kid screaming in the background. I have a kid with their underwear on their head going down the stairs right now. And I'm just like, it's okay. I'm going to do this. And it's a different focus. And the way that you write is just so different because you have that confidence. But again, like it's such a later time in life that when you do finally write something down, you're just kind of like, geez, like what was I so scared of? And
absolutely,
by the time you get to the end, you're just kind of like, wow, it's such a huge change.
It's really wonderful. We're all works in progress. We have almost a dedicated tutor who works with all of our MSOL students. She has worked with a number of people. She's incredibly talented, but every faculty member is dedicated to your success. And I want to stress, it's scary to go back to grad school, but we have designed the MSOL program, and I use here what I call a soft landing. And a soft landing means that in your first course with me, I'm not going to grade you in a difficult way. Grades are not as important as the ability to really look at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I need to help you to see how strong you are. So we start from giving you higher grades as you focus on your development through your feedback. There's a lot of feedback given to you as a writer and also as a student. You will be incredibly surprised by the end of the first class. The grades you're getting are the grades that you should be getting. But students find that because they started from a point of support, that they trust themselves a little bit more and they believe in themselves. And that's what it takes to be a good communicator. You have to believe in you. You have to believe in your message and who you're talking to. What you also heard Bo talk about is incredibly important. You're going to talk to different audiences. This work doesn't just help you in your position, it's going to help you with your family, with any work you do in nonprofit, like say you're a volunteer, you're going to talk differently to different audiences, and you're going to feel comfortable about it. We're also going to teach you how to do academic writing. We are not here. This is not about judgment. It is about growth. There are people that will help you along the way, and we pride ourselves on truly being there. As your program director and as your instructor, I'm also your advisor. I advise all the students, and I spend a great deal of time with students. I'm also a career coach, so I'm a life coach. My approach to advising is perhaps different than some you've seen. But if you're looking to find a new job, we have, between Career Services and myself, we have a lot of efforts. We also work on something called personal branding. which is becoming more and more important as you go out and compete for positions. It's important to know who you are and differentiate yourself from any other candidate. So this is your chance. You know, Peter Senge wrote a book called The Fifth Discipline, and it's all about organizations learning. And you can't have an organization that learns unless you have leaders who learn. It isn't about what you know. It is really and honestly about the questions you can ask, because questions enable us to look at things through a different lens. That's absolutely one of the true benefits of being in the MSOL here at Goodwin. People don't hate change, they hate being changed. We want you to discover the power of change that is alive within you and give you the opportunity that you richly deserve. No one's journey in this program is the same as anybody else's. You might go through the same pieces, but how it works in your world is going to be different. And again, I'm going to just mention one more time the cohort. Cohorts are incredible. You're not just learning from one person in the classroom, whoever the instructor is. You're learning from all your fellow students, and they're learning from you. This is truly a journey where the cohort enables you to see people, to see opportunities, to see situations through a different lens. You're going to learn about conflict. You're going to learn about how to overcome situations, crisis. You're going to learn how to negotiate. And most of us have not negotiated a salary or negotiated a position. You're going to get those skills. And with those skills, you'll look at things differently. So, what to do next?
I was going to say, I had a question in the cohort.
Sure, Ed.
How large are the cohorts typically?
Excellent question. They average usually right around 15. I will tell you that the smallest cohort I put together is usually around 7 people. The largest is 17. So I try to keep them 20 people, we can know each other. But more than 20, it becomes difficult. And so we're pretty sustainable right around 20 or less. Is that what you were thinking, or do you have a subsequent question?
That's kind of what I was thinking. I wanted to make sure it wasn't too large of a group, because you kind of lose that direction and getting to know everyone.
Everybody usually, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I mean, like within my cohort, when we had the online, we had just the right amount of people. I believe we probably had a good like 12 to 14 of us. And you really do still get to know people, even if it's online or even on a hybrid fashion, because, you know, a lot of us were able to really share, you know, what our background is through some of the discussions, because with those discussions that we do have, people bring like what they share. They're like, hey, in my industry, as you know, working in higher ed on the admissions end, and then that's when you really get to know people as those discussions happen, because you're bringing everything is all real life scenarios, because that's what you want, because you're just like, this is my position, what do you guys think, like this is what's going on right now. And people are really able to share like, oh, I've had a similar situation. This is what we did. Perhaps this is something that you may want to try as well. So there's so much benefit there, because you're really opening up such a huge network with people who are from different professionals, but at the same time, they come with a lot of experience. And that's the part where you're able to tap, is that, you know what, so-and-so just gave me this idea because they went through this situation. I can actually use this with what I'm going through right now.
I think that that's a critical thing to consider. And that grows. Certainly the first time you're in a class with people, you're not going to feel like you can share everything. But one of the things we've begun to really appreciate is that students know that it is a place where they can speak their mind. They can have a different opinion, and it will be appreciated. And there's nothing that's going to stop you from sharing, from getting to know people. And we have seen immense, that this is an immense opportunity for people to belong. Right now, people, one of the biggest fears in the world is that we're invisible, that we don't matter. And so this is the kind of experience, whether it's online or it's hybrid, that gives you an opportunity to really participate and have people hear you, whether it's a faculty member or members of your cohort. I will tell you, our cohorts stick together. We have one cohort who almost entirely went on a vacation. There was like, out of the 10 people in the group, 8 of them went on a vacation in the summer. So there are connections, personal and professional. We see a lot of people that will find they begin to gravitate to a certain number, not the entire cohort perhaps, but 6 or 8 people are their core group. This is sort of an opportunity to begin to explore yourself and to explore your relationships with others in this very safe environment, and test driving leadership in